The previous class we saw the selection and the switch statements. In this session we are going to talk about the looping statements, especially the for loop. So the looping statements, the types of loop that we have, and also some sample programs for the for loop programs. Looping statements are statements which keep repeating itself when it finds that a certain condition is true. But once it comes across the fact that the statement is false, it will terminate from the loop and it will go on to the next section. So how does a for loop look like? There is an initialization part wherein you initialize the first variable, and then there is the condition part wherein a condition is checked, and lastly there is an update statement wherein the initialized value gets either incremented or decremented. There are three types of loops, namely the for loop, the do while loop, and the while loop. And as the slide indicates, this for loop is naturally a counting loop. It will keep on counting till the condition becomes false. Whereas a do while loop, irrespective of what the condition is, the first statement will always be executed, and only then it will go into the loop to check if the condition is true or false. On the other hand, the while loop, the most flexible, will first check the condition, and only if the condition is true, the statement is executed, else it will go out of the loop. This is a syntax for the for loop. As I said, you first have an initialization value inside the for, then a boolean expression, a condition to check if it's true or false, and then of course an update statement just to tell or whether the value can be incremented or decremented. You can decide to do away with the update statement just with a semicolon, and there ends it. These are the control steps for loop. First, the initialization step wherein you initialize a value, like say maybe a variable x which can have a value of 0, and then you initialize the loop control variables, and after this initialization you just put a semicolon. Then you go in for the condition, which is the evaluation of the boolean expression. The condition is checked, and once the condition is true, the value is then incremented or decremented, and then it passes on to the initialized value. Now the initialized value is incremented or decremented by 1. Now the condition is checked. If the condition is true, once again it is incremented, it goes back to the first step, and once it comes across a point where the condition becomes false, the loop gets terminated. What if there are two loops, maybe an outer loop and an inner loop? Then they run in a conjoined manner in such a way that each and every loop is executed according to its values. So the update statement, as I told you, can be left blank just with a semicolon. So the entire operation is just these three steps. If true, the loop executes, and then there is an update statement until the condition becomes false, wherein the loop stops. The while loop will keep on executing as long as the condition inside the while loop is true. So the compiler will check the while condition, which will be a boolean expression, a true or false expression, and once it finds that the condition is true, then the statement inside the loop is executed. So it will go to the next statement, check that statement for a condition, and if that condition is true, it will once again get executed. So it will go so on and so forth until it comes to a statement or a condition which is false. Then it breaks out of the loop and comes out. So care should be taken when you use a while loop because if you give an infinite value, it will go on looping for a very long time. Your system will hang and it will crash down. The while loop can be executed any number of times. Now let's see some sample programs. But before I take you into the programs, let me tell you, you will be seeing some new characters in your program. You'll be seeing something like a slash, backslash n, and maybe a backslash t. So what are all these? And what is that backslash for? The backslash is an escape character which just says that there's going to be a character next to the slash which means something. So when I put an n after the backslash, it's going to mean that I'm going to take my output to the next line. And a slash t means I'm going to give a gap of a tab space between two values. So when I type a character and I put a slash t and the next character, the distance between these two characters will be one tab space. So you'll be seeing this in your programs. These are called string literals. What you see on the screen is an example of a for loop. In this you can see that I've initialized a variable of the type integer with the name I. It takes the first value is taken to be 1, therefore you don't need a separate integer or declaration on top because I've already initialized and declared it inside the for loop. And then I can take values up to 10. That is why I've given it as I less than equal to 10. Then there is an incremental factor wherein I gets incremented, and the system.out.println wherein I am printing the variable I. Now let's just check how this loop works. Initially I will take a value of 1. It checks the condition. Now I is less than 10, 1 is less than 10, therefore it will print 1. This ln is the next line, so it will print on the next line the number 1. Now the third step is the increment step. Now I takes the value of 2. It checks once again with a condition. Since 2 is less than 10, once again the system.out.println, the next line it will print 2. Once again this 2 gets incremented by 1, it becomes 3. So it just keeps printing from 1 to 9. Once it comes to 10, I is less than equal to 10, wherein the condition is true. 10 is printed, and now I increments to 11. When I increments to 11, it checks the condition. I is less than equal to 10 is false. Therefore, it will simply terminate from the loop and come out of the program. Let's see this working in our program. So we'll simply compile it and run it, and let's see what happens. Yes, now let's execute the for loop example 1 program, and this is what you get. You can see that the values of 1 to 10 have been printed. Now let me go to the next program, second program. In this, let's see how a factorial number has been generated using the for loop. In this I have declared 3 variables, int I, n and f, wherein f has been initialized with a value 1. Now n is an integer of argument 0, so once again you are going to pass a command line argument when you are running this program. Like suppose you pass in a value 6. Let's see what happens. Initially I will be 1. Now the n value that you give, which is 6, So 1 is less than 6. Now f will be 1. So 1 into 1 will be 1. So f will now have the value of 1. I will get incremented to 2. Now 2 is less than 6, the number that we gave, and it will once again go in and multiply 2 with the previous f value, that is 1. The new value will be 2. Now once again the value gets incremented to 3. 3 is less than 6, that is the value of n that we have given, and once again if the old value of 2 will be multiplied with the latest n value of 3, and it goes on to 6. Like this, it goes up to 5 or 6, that is n is equal to 6, and of course the 6 factorial value is 720, which will be printed on the screen because I have printed f over here. So after the for loop executes, the system.out.println will work and you'll get the final f value, which will be 720. So shall we run this program? I pass the value 6 as a command line argument, and you can see that the factorial value of 6 is 720. I've given an integer value, so let's see how far we can go. I'll give a value like say 15. Yes, the factorial value of 15 is this. Just try it on till what value you can get a factorial for an integer. I think that would be a good exercise. Now let's go to the third program. This is an example of a nested for loop. If you see, I have initialized a variable x as 0 and I have printed this x inside the second for loop. Now look at the first loop. I have initialized a variable I with 0 as its initial value. Now 0 is less than 3. Since the condition is true, the statement will go into the for loop. There I have another for loop where I have initialized j as 0, and since 0 is less than 3, it will go to the next statement, that is I have printed x with a plus plus, that is a pre-increment. Therefore the x value 0 will now take a new value which will be 1. And then it finds a /t, which means it's a tab space, so it will take a tab space. Then it will go once again into the for loop of j, the inside loop. J gets incremented to 1. When j gets incremented to 1, which is less than 3, once again it goes into this line where x is incremented and it prints the value 2. Once again it finds a tab space and it takes a tab space and the cursor waits here. Now j takes the value of 2. 2 is less than 3, therefore the value is printed as 3. And now j takes the value of 3. 3 is not less than 3, therefore it breaks out and comes back to the first loop once again. Now I takes the value of 1. Since 1 is less than 3, it now goes into the loop. Now j is once again 0, which is less than 3, therefore the x value is once again incremented and will go to the next line, and here it is printed as 4 because 3 gets incremented to 4 and a tab space. Once again j takes the value of 2, 2 less than 3, prints x as 5. J takes the value of 1, then it takes the value of 2, it goes on to become 6, then it goes to the next line. Now I takes the value of 2, goes in, it prints 7, 8 and 9. Now j's value is 3, I is incremented to 3, therefore now 3 will not be there because 3 is not less than 3, therefore it will break out of the loop, and once this 9 is printed, the entire program will get terminated, and this is the output that you will see on your screen. So shall we run this program? So let me delete these values which I have just typed here. It will be easier for you to understand. I'll save this file, and now we'll compile this program. Yes. Now let's run this program. And voila, this is the exact replica of what I told you. This is how, and these kind of for loops, nested for loops, are used for matrix values. When you want to go in for matrix additions or matrix multiplications, you can use these kind of loops to do your matrix multiplications and additions, and a very useful tool because you don't have to write a lot of code. So that's all for now from this disk. So till such time we meet again, it's bye for now and thank you.